All right, I want you to think about two things you'd probably never ever put in the same sentence. A tiny little anchovy and a super successful CEO. But believe it or not, the lesson that ties them together is surprisingly powerful.
So, what is the connection? I mean, really, what kind of secret wisdom could a bizarre little fish story possibly hold about being a great leader? I have a feeling the answer is going to surprise you. So, our story kicks off in a traditional fish market. We've got a fishmonger just going about his day who has absolutely no idea his world is about to be turned upside down by a few very strange requests. A customer walks up and asks for an anchovy, a single tiny anchovy, and then he asks the fishmonger to cut it into 3 pieces. I mean, an anchovy into 3 pieces. Have you seen how small they are? Just let that sink in for a second. The fishmonger, he just stares. He doesn't say a thing. I mean, what do you even say to that? He's completely baffled, but hey, the customer's always right, so he does it. And trust me, this is just getting started. You'd think that would be a one-off, right? A weird story to tell his friends. Nope. The next day, the man's wife comes in asking for 2 whole anchovies for soup. Okay, a bit more normal. But the fishmonger's frustration really boils over with the third encounter. An older guy, a so-called wise man, who offers some truly useless advice. After hearing the fishmonger's complaint, this wise man just shakes his head and says, "Just descale it. Why make it so complicated?" As if that was the part of the story that didn't make sense.
And that's it. That was the last straw. The fishmonger just snaps. When the next customer, a totally normal lady, comes in and asks for 2 anchovies, he looks at her, completely defeated, and sarcastically asks, "And would you like those cut for you, ma'am?"
So it's a bizarre story, kind of funny, but the real question is what is actually happening here? Because beyond the fish, there's a really powerful point being made about our own minds.
You know, the fishmonger decided the problem was with his customers. He was convinced society itself was just failing. But was he right? Was the problem really with them? Or was something else going on inside his own head?
Because, of course, this story was never really about fish at all. It's a perfect metaphor for how our own emotions can completely distort our perception of the world around us. And that brings us to the core idea of our source material, a concept it calls the 5-year-old brain. 5. Just remember this number. It's probably the most important number to recall the next time you feel yourself getting angry. So here's why that number is so important. Research shows that when we get truly angry, our higher-level thinking, it just shuts down. Our wisdom, our emotional intelligence, our IQ, it all temporarily plummets to the level of a 5-year-old. So, here's the crucial point. The fishmonger wasn't actually surrounded by fools. His own rising frustration and anger made him perceive everyone as a fool. His 5-year-old brain took over, and suddenly the entire world seemed absurd and illogical. Okay, so now let's finally connect this back to our CEO, because this isn't just a funny psychological quirk. Understanding it is the secret to incredible success. The source material tells us about this entrepreneur known for being incredibly steady, rock solid. In a really volatile industry, he grew his company year after year. And what's most remarkable is that he almost never made a major mistake. He retired with a flawless reputation. So when someone asked for his secret, he didn't talk about complex strategies or anything like that. He said this: "When I'm angry, I say little and decide nothing." He understood that his 5-year-old brain was his biggest liability, and he created a simple rule to keep it from ruining everything. And this brings us to the real lesson here: the profound power of self-restraint. See, the goal isn't to never feel anger. It's about what you choose not to do when you feel it.
Every critical moment presents this choice. Decisions you make from a place of calm are strategic and thoughtful, but decisions made when the 5-year-old brain is in charge, they're impulsive and destructive. The CEO's secret was simply living on the left side of this screen.
So here it is, the whole lesson, distilled into 2 golden rules. When anger takes over, you put a lock on your mouth and a freeze on your decision-making. That's it. It sounds simple, but it's definitely not easy.
And what's crucial is that this isn't some special skill just for CEOs. It's a form of self-awareness that any of us can build. It's the ability to recognize when your 5-year-old brain is taking the wheel and having the wisdom to say, "Not right now."
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. The next time you feel that heat rising,
that frustration boiling over like our poor fishmonger, what decision will you refuse to make? What words will you refuse to say? Mastering that moment might just be your own secret to success.